Welcome to Bets on the Future, where we highlight the various career paths in the electrifying metals world. From the vehicle you ride in to the bridge holding it up, metals are everywhere. Why not in your career too? I'm Jennifer Betts, a metals industry veteran with almost 20 years experience, here to highlight these incredible career paths as told by the women who are living them. Today's guest has made meaningful impacts as part of her 3-decade career in the metals industry. From machinery used in growing our communities to the appliances and equipment used in our homes, Sarah Moran moves metal into all facets of our everyday lives. Join me as we discuss her career, her experiences, and her work at Ryerson, one of the largest metal service centers in North America. Kicking this off is, where are you at currently?
I am, strangely enough, I am at my alma mater, Purdue University, checking on my daughter, who's also here. So,
yes, part of me appreciates that. You know, I have family member that went to Purdue as well. Although I went to Indiana, so like
girl,
it's
you are
just
going to be my new bestie.
it's you know, they have a lovely business school there, or management school, I think is what they call it. But I had to go to IU, the business school. So I respect Purdue is a very hard, challenging school. So congratulations to your daughter. You must be very proud.
I am. Yep. She's got a year and a half left. So she graduates December 2024.
That's fantastic. And I have to ask, because a lot of what this podcast is about is introducing new folks into the industry. Is there any chance that she's headed towards the metals industry?
Well, no. Well, I say no now.
Yes.
Yes, I say no now because you don't know, right? So she started off in the engineering track, got into the biomedical engineering program, and then she decided to switch. You're never going to believe what she switched to, and she is thriving. She's got an internship this summer. She's got good prospects, sales and selling management.
I love that. You can do anything with that.
Exactly. She is targeting either medical equipment or pharmaceutical sales, those. So next summer she's eyeing an internship with Eli Lilly. So
Oh, that's huge.
a sales internship with Eli Lilly. They have it and they recruit heavily here. So, we'll see.
I actually have someone that I know in my neighborhood, and just for reference, for people that are listening, watching on this, we're basically on different coasts at this point. You know, you're in the Midwest currently. I'm out on the West Coast, out of LA, and crazy enough, yeah, one of my neighbors works for Eli Lilly. Like, got moved out here because she's had a great career in that world. I mean, you really can go anywhere in that world. And my husband is in the biomedical field, so partially biased as well on that. So keep that duly noted. He works for Amgen, hence why we're out in California. That's where they're headquartered.
Okay. Great. And we're gonna talk.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk more, right?
Yes, absolutely. But those are kind of two completely different fields from the metals industry and biomedical, even though there's a lot of metals that go into.
There's going to be potentially a lot of metal in there. Yeah.
Yes. But we've decided on this podcast to kind of, spoof a little bit of another podcast where basically, if there's somebody out there that is completely unrelated, how do we explain this industry? And so we're going to use my husband. So at any point in this interview that there is something that you use, an acronym, a technical word, something along those lines, an industry association that you and I know, I might hold up my hand and say, hey, can you explain it for my husband who's in the biomedical field that is more or less unrelated to what we do?
I totally understand. Sometimes I get all these acronyms confused myself. After 26 years, it's still like, what is that? Yeah.
Well, I want to get into, how did you even find it? Like, did you go to school? Was this a family connection, friends? Like, how did this happen?
By happenstance, as I'm sure a lot of other folks in the metals industry, I graduated from Purdue with a hospitality management background. I worked for a restaurant. I opened 2 restaurants. I worked for high-end hotels like the Drake and Marriott's. And And then I happened to move to Northwest Indiana, and then was the hotel that I worked for had Dale Carnegie courses in our hotel, and the deal was we gave them a break in the rate if they allowed one of our managers to take the course. I mean, back then in the early '90s, that was a $1,200 course for 12 weeks, basically.
Whoa.
So it was held at our hotel, and because of where I was in Northwest Indiana, apparently U.S. Steel had a deal to send all their managers to that course. And not knowing, and I know that, the region Steel because I mostly grew up in West Lafayette, I had no idea that it was even an option. But I met my then would-be husband, now ex-husband, at that class. And it was actually him that helped me get into the steel industry because one of his best friends was leading the inside sales group with US Steel Plate Products.
Wow.
And we were already married, and then we never saw each other because I was working all these crazy hours. So that's how it started. I interviewed with US Steel over an open inside sales position. The person that interviewed me he was old then, and he started at Homestead Works in Pennsylvania. I mean, that doesn't even exist anymore. Mm-hmm. So he kept on talking to me, and he couldn't believe that whoever he was talking to was, I guess, clearly he was impressed, because at the end of that interview, he was like, I definitely want you, we want to give you an offer. We just have to go through all the bureaucratic red tape. But he kept on asking, and what was your background again? Like, how can you be this smart, or how can you even be this, carrying an interview that old school steel person, would be impressed with. So, and then the rest is history. August of 1996, I started my first inside sales representative position at US Steel Plate Products.
Wow. And for my husband, who's in biomedical, just to put it in perspective, US Steel at that point, which is the United States Steel Corporation, probably was the largest, if not the largest, steel manufacturer in North America, right?
In 1996, absolutely. They were the largest in North America. And as we all know, that's not the case today.
Right. Some things have happened.
A lot of things have happened, and I lived through all that, which I think is a testament of the time and everything that was going on, and to be able to survive that. I'm still here, still rocking it. It's all good.
Well, I want to get to current day. For those who are unfamiliar with you, just do a quick synopsis of, who you are, what you're doing, and who you're working for.
Yep. So again, Sarah Moran, General Manager of Sales for Ryerson Singer. I am, and this is a unique situation because I'm not only responsible for the sales portion of this, but the Singer Steel plant for Ryerson is unique. So I kind of have, OPSAT kind of has a dotted line to me, and I'm semi-involved in the whole P&O, portion of it, which is great because it's a great stepping stone. I know that my path after this is to be a multi-market general manager, for Ryerson, and there's 12 of them, throughout the United States. So responsible for sales, responsible for growing the business, responsible for the bottom line. Obviously, everything that I've done throughout my career has certainly prepared me for this, not just with the sales portion, but the product management portion when I was with ArcelorMittal. And then also, I was in procurement as a director of flat carbon when I left ArcelorMittal to go work for Central Steel and Wire, who has also been acquired by Ryerson. So that path for me has created this almost perfect situation for me to jump into a general manager of sales position for this actual location for Ryerson. I love what I do. I love the interaction with people, and I still get excited by the sale. I don't care how big or small that order is. If I get it, and we got our team has it, I'm all for it.
And
still gets me going.
And so I'm not surprised to hear then that your daughter is going into the sales track. It might be in the blood there.
Yes, my side, definitely.
Yes. For those that are unfamiliar with Ryerson and Singer Steel, can you give a little perspective of, I mean, they're large organizations. Like for you to say that there's only 12 of essentially you
Let me put
out
that into perspective, right?
there, that's
So
huge.
yes, so Ryerson is, we've been around for 180 years. Started out in Chicago, JT Ryerson peddling metal off of a horse drawn carriage, and it's grown from there. We are a service center, metal distributor. If you look at Metal Center News, it's a publication, and they every year they put together a top 50 list of service centers in the United States. We are always, and it's by volume and total number of sales, we have always kind of stuck in that number two, but still the top three with Reliance, Ryerson, and then Klockner. And then the gap between Klockner and Ryerson is also pretty significant. But I mean, being an over $6 billion company in sales is a huge magnitude, and I am thrilled that I am part of this organization. We have 100 plus locations and still growing in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Those are actual Ryerson plants and facilities. And also we have underneath that a Ryerson family of companies like Central Steel and Wire, like Singer Steel, but now really that operates as a plant, Fay Industries, Apogee, and we continue to add to our repertoire. Lately, we've been acquiring facilities that have abilities and capabilities, processing capabilities that we need or use or need for our own use, and to diversify our offerings, certainly, and added processing. Again, all over the United States, depending on where the geographic location is. So, Ryerson is divided in 3 regions. There's a president for each region: the North, the West, which is West Southwest, and then the East, which is Northeast, and then Southeast. And then within those 3 regions, there are several multi-markets, which is basically 3-4 states each. And there's a multi-market general manager for each of those states, and then general manager of sales underneath that. So it's a fairly large organization. It seems large, but really the way we interact, and even through all those levels, are so close knit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that's impressed me about, my transition from big steel in the mills into service centers, which people that's been in this industry have always questioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say that it's easier to go from a service center to a mill versus a mill to a service center. And I'm still trying to understand why, but whatever, to each his own, because maybe I used to call on Ryerson actually. I started that at the end of 03 and 04 when a lot of this consolidation was happening. And so I've been familiar with Ryerson throughout, and seeing it from the other side, and the growth that they have achieved, and the expansion, and solidifying their mark here in the United States, and also in Canada and Mexico. And we also have a facility in China. So
it's really impressive. And they're publicly traded. Like, I'm just trying to you did a great job of putting the perspective of Ryerson for somebody that's not in the industry. If you're in the general public, you probably haven't heard about them, right?
Correct. Even if you've been around 180 years. So that's a talking piece for, when you're recruiting and when you're talking to customers, that, we have all the boomers are gone. Those people that used to know, and I talked to Eddie, our CEO, about this. I've mentioned this before, and certainly my managers, we need to reintroduce Ryerson, because we've changed so much. We dabble in every metal. If it's metal, I don't care what shape, form, we'll sell it.
Yes. Steel, aluminum, stainless.
Yes.
You guys do it all.
Yes. And even dabble in red metals, a little bit. Long products, flat, everything, name it. So, yeah, and even if we've been around a long time, we need to reintroduce ourselves to potential new customers and potential workers, especially that.
Absolutely.
Who wants to be, and I know that you and I have discussed this before, it's Okay, what's steel, what's metal, and people take for granted what it's in our everyday lives, and everything, exactly everything we have and own in our homes, everything we see has metal in it.
Yes. And yet we
Yep,
don't think about it as a career.
correct.
Many of my friends and family understand I'm in the, metals industry, not necessarily knowing exactly what I'm doing, but I had to share the story with you. We were recently up in Bend, Oregon, so not exactly the major metropolis, right? We have some friends up there. We used to live up in the Pacific Northwest. And one of my girlfriends there texted me the other day. She's like, I'm at a book club and there's this woman here that she's retired from the steel industry, long shot. Do you know her? And it was an executive from Ryerson. And it was Ellen
Oh,
Lay.
that's what you asked. Oh, yes.
Yes,
No,
yes,
I don't know that name, but I bet you she knows Victoria Zanuto, who
yes.
also retired from hers.
It was kind of comical because my girlfriend does not work in steel. Okay, she's very far removed from that. But she knew that I did. And when she was talking to this woman, she was talking about the woman was saying, if your friend is in steel, she'll know my company. And yes,
Yes,
100%. Absolutely, I
yes.
did. But again, my friend who's not in steel had no idea who she was talking to or what this company was, which is such a shame because you have 100+ locations. I'm going to say you're global, like you're a large company and you do so many cool things to try and attract the next generation. I would love to see more videos or just things of what you do out there and to translate it into, the everyday life of what your metal products go into.
So, interestingly enough, our marketing team has done a tremendous job in doing just that so that we could
Good.
highlight, and even in different snippets, a lot of the things that we do and in video form. We have, oh, I don't remember the name, I'll have to get back to you on that, but it's on YouTube. So
Oh,
if you just like
fantastic.
type in Ryerson videos, every video that we've done, which we again have used to like show customers, put it on our show pad, or different processes we have in different facilities. It's all in there. It's all in there. And then we also have a segment that the company started highlighting some of our folks, and it's called Me in Metal, and their trajectory of how they came into the industry, and what's kept them here, and their experience. And all those little diverse nuances and the people that put Ryerson together is what makes it unique, and how it makes it work. And also for a steel company, a metal company, I'm sorry, metal company, to embrace that kind of diversity and thought and putting that forward is ahead of a lot of companies that I've come across, and I've been in through a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you
And I do
know,
have to
so
put a plug in for you, for those that are listening or watching this. There is one on Sarah. If you go to Ryerson's YouTube to check that out, it's fantastic. It's about 5 minutes long, I want to say,
yeah,
right?
yeah, not that, yep, 5 minutes.
And it was really great perspective on how you got in and just more about your background. And I found it really interesting. I mean, I geek out on that stuff.
And me too. And it's also interesting hearing people's story that's in this industry. I was together with some long time former customer, former supplier, relationship, and but it's lasted over 20 years, in the whole time that I've been, and we could say we're still friends now, and even if we're not on the same products, we still relate and talk. And I don't know of any other industry that has that kind of close knit group where everybody kind of knows a little bit about everybody, and that
Mhm.
networking is very, very powerful, especially when you're in sales or in procurement, because especially in the time when we had COVID and we were all trying to find something that
Yeah.
we couldn't find, the number of phone calls, I don't know about you, was like, hey, do you have this? Hey, do you have that? Oh, let me call my old friend from I don't know
Yeah.
when. You know what I mean? And that relationship is still there, and it's solid. And that knowledge, after so many years and experience, I think is what's kept me. And I know that if I'm speaking for the rest of the people that have been here more than 5, 10 years, will say the same thing.
Mm-hmm. It really is an industry that flies under the radar, and it has a lot of really wonderful aspects to it that by doing this, by what Ryerson is doing, we're really trying to showcase to the general public what we're working on.
Yeah.
Is there anything in your career that you've seen that was really fascinating or eye-opening to you, like seeing some sort of product that went into something else and then you saw it, you know, when you're walking down the street? Is there anything where that type of connection has been made?
That's every day.
You're like, we're
That
pretty big. We're into
I
everything.
I know, but see, it's like you said, I geek out on that stuff. As many, and I tell customers, especially if I see them for the first time and I'm seeing their process or what they do and what they make, as many machine shops and fab shops and end user manufacturing that I've seen, I am still blown away at the the magnitude and the tenacity that it goes into what people do and big, small, medium-sized companies do to produce something made out of metal and
Yeah.
everything that they have to go through. Several cute little stories, and even if it goes back to my daughter when I was with ISG. Let me explain. It's the company that was put together in the early 2000s from all the bankrupt companies because of horrendous economic situation where, so basically ISG was Bethlehem, ISG, Acme. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yes. And so I was selling to a steel plate to water tower fabricators. And you don't think about your water towers. Look in your townships, whether it be like one pillar and then a big dome steel tank up top or four-legged ones, whatever. There's several companies in the United States that does that. And I called on a couple of them. And I never realized, well, one, how you make it, how you take those big steel plates and bend it a little bit and make it so that it becomes that oval, like round or round little spear, you know,
Yep.
and so that you can extract water from the ground and then have water from a municipality. I was flying and landing, and when you look out, the next time y'all look out, you look into the horizon and see how many water towers there are, you know, and we were flying back from vacation, and then my daughter, who was probably 3 or 4 at the time, I'm like, Cassie, look outside. Do you see those? Those are water towers. I said, Mommy sells the steel that goes into that. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, how nerdy. How nerdy could that be? But
Don't worry. I have definitely snapped photos of metal recycling facilities as I'm landing into places because I could see them from basically the runway. And
yeah,
you know, I'm tapping my husband's shoulder like, look. No,
look. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Or if I'm driving down the road and I see a piece of equipment and you know it's all metal or it's painted of a specific Caterpillar yellow,
yep,
you know, CNA case, John Deere green,
yep,
or the several orange hues of the different JLG, whatever. I'm like, oh, that's going there. Oh, that's going there. Oh, that's going there. You know, I mean, it's a telltale, and we all know what it is, right? Um, and then with these new vehicles, the EVs, you know,
mhm.
and I drove a Rivian, by the way, the other day. It's a truck, an electric vehicle truck. One of my
How
customers let
was
me
it?
drive it. Amazing, super fast, and amazing. Anywho, another geeky thing is that when I pass by a car or oh, someone hit me from the bumper, I'm like, oh my gosh, is my bumper metal? It was one of the first things that I like,
Hmm?
no, darn it, it's fiberglass. Why is that fiberglass? It used to be metal, right?
Yep,
So it's those things that we notice. And even when you're like opening your refrigerator, you're shopping for a refrigerator and the kind of brush polish that's on a stainless, that kind of stuff. And one of my friends who used to call on Whirlpool would turn the refrigerator around that she was gonna buy and wanted to see what kind of spangle there was. And spangle is the finish on the galvanized metal. So, you know, people in metal certainly looks at the world differently, but that's what makes it unique and continue to be relevant. And that's what's gonna keep the, you know, that this industry going. Another note, during COVID, think about how many friends of yours that lost their jobs that were put on layoff, that didn't have to go to work and wasn't going to get paid. There's a lot of my friends, but people in the metals industry, we all worked, whether it be at home, whether we still went to the plant, because it is essential for our existence
Absolutely.
in every degree.
It this is very much a humble brag, but it's to put in perspective how our industry is always going to be around. I came into the industry before Nucor bought the David J. Joseph Company. And if people are aware of that timeline, that's around the 2008, 2009 timeframe, which wasn't ideal for the economy, right? So I come out of college in the 2000s, and the Great Recession hits, right? What happens to the majority of my friends? They get laid off because they're the last hired, first fired, right? Many people that I knew from business school were let go from college, etc. You know what happened to me? I got promoted and I moved across the country with a company, right?
Yeah.
When
Yes.
COVID hit, I had multiple job opportunities come in and I got a different job. Like it was never that intent in those certain situations, but it's because metal's always going to be needed.
Correct.
The population grows. We're going to need more metal. The demand will always be there.
Yep.
So this is a career track that once you get experience in it, like your experience, you can go anywhere. Like you've
Right.
done that.
So, and another thing I think that people don't understand with steel and metal, I think all they see is the manufacturing part, or like all
Yes.
the dirty part. That's the bad connotation that goes in with this industry, right? Oh my gosh, they're polluting. No, one, we're not, especially not in the United States. But two, every aspect of business, from sales, marketing, accounting, supply chain, operations management, procurement, and all that skill set is taught in business schools and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And but people find jobs in companies that are, well, one, I mean, we're publicly traded, so I don't even know why we are as relevant as Pepsi and Google and any
Mm-hmm.
other of those big companies. Metal is. And
Yes.
like you said, again, to have, for us, not just to promote, but it's our reality, is it's not going to go anywhere. The
No.
chair we're sitting now in is like metal, everything. This table,
Yes. Literally everything has metal in it. For those that are thinking about getting into the metals industry or thinking about a career change, do you have any advice on how to get in, anything once you are in, for those individuals?
So there has to be an education piece, anybody can go and on Google or Indeed or whatever job search engine of your choice. And if you look for a position, right, don't ignore a company because you don't know what it is, or it says and something metal in it, because, and I suggest, encourage them to give it a try. If they don't know or unsure, network and find someone in the metal industry to talk. It's worth the conversation, definitely, and it's worth a look. There's a lot of great companies in our industry, and we are looking always looking for good people who are tenacious and creative and diligent and driven. Um, that will always push to improve, because that's what this industry has had to do to sustain ourselves all this time. From the very, very beginning, with someone forging something with a hammer and, making whatever it is into the developments it is now. Technology is going to continue to enhance this industry. And certainly, this metal industry that we have today is not your grandfather's steel industry. That's compressed, in the development and the innovation and technology that we have today has propelled that to a whole nother level. And it's going to continue to do so. We're always going to continue to find different ways and better ways to make our metal safely, and that's sustainable for the future, and that can adapt and be used for future technologies like clean energy and EVs and whatever else invention there is, space travel. You need metal to go do that, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. Never going to go away.
It never will. And for those that are interested in the sustainability movement and the environmental movement, metals is going to be a huge part of that, right? In terms of what you just talked about, going into the products to help that front, but also from a manufacturing standpoint, because steel manufacturing makes about 8% of the greenhouse gases globally, and we're working on improving that to make sure that gets reduced. So it really is from job security, from a lifelong career, from a fulfilling career, from, I'm sure you have some fantastic, hilarious, when we're not recording stories, adventures.
We got to write a book.
Yes, no, we will not hit the record button for those conversations. It really is an incredible career track. So I really appreciate you sharing your time, your experience. And if anybody is out there looking for you, find her on LinkedIn, Sarah Moran. She's the general manager of sales for Ryerson Singer Seal.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on. Wonderful.
Absolutely. This is fun.